Our next guest is in the studio. He is here. He's been, raising very many issues about governance and governance matters in the country, and saying, you know what, we all need to have a say in this, and as citizens, we need to agitate. As citizens, we need to be more engaged. Operation Linda Jamii. The chairman of it is Professor Fred Ogola. He's our next guest. Prof, good morning.
Good morning, Eric. How are you doing?
Very well.
Yes.
Are you keeping well?
Very, very well.
Uh-huh.
Yes, today when I speak to you today, I don't know where city is today, but today I speak with a bit of some authority because there's a new spirit,
There's a new spirit?
Yes.
Good morning, Prof.
Yeah, the other day, I was installed as Ogai of the Luo community by the Luo Council Elders.
You're installed as what?
Ogai. Ogai means the political leader of the Luo nation. And that is a very special coronation. But today I wanted to count my regalia, but I decided not to give you a big surprise.
Which elders? There are too many elders nowadays, everywhere.
Where?
Yes, you see, remember that there is the eighth care of the Luo elder is called Nyandi Kongadi.
Mm-hmm.
The ninth care is Odungiranda. And there should only be one care. Therefore, you know which one is false.
Yeah, I don't
the
know.
ninth cannot be there when the eighth is arrived. For example, we have the sixth president of Kenya.
Yeah.
If someone called them the seventh, then it can only be that it's illegitimate. So there's only one care, and no one should be told anything else. But anyway.
So has this care ever given anybody that mandate of being the political kingpin of the Luo?
No, because you see, first of all, it was Tom Mboya. That's why you hear the Luo nation discussing about who is the next Raila Odinga. But that's not the question. The question is, who will take the vision of Tom Mboya and use this to transform the country?
So since Tom Mboya, there's been no political leader of the Luo?
Raila Odinga was declared Ward Oganda, which means the son of the community. But for me, I'm called Ward Luo, which means the son of Luo. You cannot be Ward Oganda if you are actually a typical, that Raila Odinga cannot trace his origin to our elder Kora Mogajuang without interruption. It must pass through Wanga. So that's why he was not given this officially.
Right.
It's me, because now I can trace my origin from where I am to my elder.
But you're not the only one, boss.
Did you go and tell them, or did they single you out?
The spirit calls you.
Oh, the spirit.
And you come, and the Janabi, who is the spiritual leader of the Luo, says that the spirit has told me it is so and so. They say it grows like a mushroom. Have you ever seen seeds of mushroom?
No, they are spores.
They just sprout. So this is sprouting. Even there should be no election. The Spirit tells you this is the person. Just like the Spirit sent on Jesus or on David. It's the same thing. But anyway, I'm sure there's
So where you are today, you are higher than Raila Odinga even?
Yeah, according to the Luo Council, that's official. You remember this position had been contested, whether he knows or not. I do not need his permission. You see, when I've been told by the people who hold the spirit, remember David Owalo wants this position. He went there and they said the spirit has not landed on you. P.S. Omolo went, it's the same. Kidero has asked for it. Some of them bring money, but you see, they can give them millions of shillings. Me, I don't have money.
The
For me,
spirit
it is the spirit, and they cannot trade with spirits. They go away. So the spirit has said, and how I'll get to where they are, that is only God's work. God will take me there. Just like David, when David was anointed, he went back to take care of the sheep. But then God did a miracle. Saul lost his brain, so Saul was mad. So he came to the palace to play the harp. In the process, he became the king. So how I'll become the king or Luo is another story, but the leader I am. No, kingship is another story. Raila is the king of the Luo. But
you're the leader.
I'm the leader of the Luo nation, officially, taking over from the spirit of Tom Mboya.
So what's your job now as the leader?
Messenger, defender, ambassador.
Yeah.
So I can be sent to speak on behalf of something touching on the Luo nation. For example, that's how I went to Sondu. I put a petition for the Sondu. I took the case to East Africa Court of Justice. The Migingo issue, I did the same. When education brought very bad results that actually affected more the Luo nation than any other nation, I had to put a petition in court. You understand? The Mandamano killed more of the people who are supporting Raila, who by nature depends on Luos. I went to the court. So it's something I'm already doing. And I will continue doing. I don't need his permission to go to court to defend any Kenyan who is suffering. Do you need anything like that? You don't need. But I'm sure that maybe the day one day will allow me to come here to discuss about that officially. But there's somebody called Okach who has been writing a lot about the Luo Nation. You need to call him and interview him. He'll tell you that this is the position. Yeah.
So what should we call you now?
Call me Wodluo.
Wodluo.
Wodluo means the son of
Luo.
Which means that I can.
And there's only one Wodluo.
There's only one. Actually, that's what we call the spirit. That's the name of a spirit.
Mm-hmm.
And that spirit is called Wodluo. Raila Odinga is Wodoganda.
Okay.
Yeah.
And there's been no Wodluo since Tomboya.
No one has been given that title by the Luo Council elders.
Since Tomboya.
Yes.
Okay, Prof.
Yeah.
Wodluo, welcome.
Thank you, my brother.
I have the day's proverb.
Yes.
This one is from Senegal. The Wahenga of Senegal, the Ker, I don't know whether it was the first, second, or 15th, came up with this proverb. If you wait for tomorrow, tomorrow comes. If you don't wait for tomorrow, tomorrow comes.
Wow.
What is your interpretation of this one?
The interpretation is that it does not depend on you that we can see tomorrow. But tomorrow here is not just a day. Tomorrow is, for example, this country is pregnant with some change. So this change will come. Whatever will bring Kenya, because I'm telling you where we are, if we don't make a turn, we're destined to destruction. And that change will take place because God cannot destroy his own people. Remember the story between God and Abraham.
Yes.
If you only find one person, if you only find 200 people, Kenya have more spiritual people, more virtuous people, and I'm sure God cannot destroy Kenya. Kenya is too important for the world. By the way, Eric, did you know that the most important countries in Africa is Kenya and South Africa?
Most important countries in Africa?
Yes.
In terms of what?
Look, do you know why the U.S. have to really work together closely with the Kenyan government? Because that's only the way you can access Middle East through Kenya. But if you want to export the Atlantic, you want to access the Pacific, you have to use South Africa. And that's why you saw that these people saw South Africa and Kenya are the most strategic countries ever. If you look what the Gundis are doing on the Southern Cape, when they closed the Red Sea, you saw that it becomes very clear that route to South Africa and Kenya becomes critical. And this is a nation that God has in his hands. And this is the nation that actually will propel Africa. These two countries, South Africa and Kenya, mark my words. I'm an expert in strategy, so there's called geopolitics and geoeconomy. Kenya has a lot of geo importance. That's why you see anytime we are in trouble, the U.S. comes here to help us sort out our issue. And that's why I believe this country is too important to be led to people who do not know its importance. Yeah.
But we are at a point where you're saying if we don't turn,
yeah, but
that means that we have lost a lot of
you've just heard I'm called Wodluo.
So what is this that's wrong with the country? Why are you saying that we are at that point? What point is that?
Kenya has been captured as a state. The state has been captured. Because my friend Mwalesi Mbeki hosted me in South Africa. We had a meeting, then I told him to go and give a talk in Durban called Who Rules South Africa? South Africa is ruled by the middle class because the people control ANC and therefore they rule. And that's why they create a lot of jobs using labor. So it's a labor-intensive country because ruled by the middle class like jobs. I don't know, CEO here, I don't know what. That's what they like. They like, I have my car, I have my insurance, I have this and that. So they are ruling there, but they are not helping South Africa because they are not helping South Africa to become a manufacturing country. So all the minerals in South Africa go out in raw materials. But you see, the industrialists will have preferred to do value addition and do that. So the conversation in South Africa is that why don't the capitalists here combine down here with the hoi polloi people, they say the masses, isn't it, and remove middle class from power, and then spur the next growth in South Africa. That's why South Africa will have their second liberation. Not that South Africa is at second liberation. Kenya, we are talking about the third. I remember the first liberation for them was against apartheid. Now they have the middle class ruling. Now they have to go to the next level because what's happening is that the middle class normally pit the capitalist against the masses because the middle class rules the state. But you see what's happening? Who suffers the most is the masses and the capitalists, because capitalists own banks, they own insurance, they own companies. If there's any demonstration on the street, who dies? The policeman owned by the middle class beats up the masses and injure them. When the middle class, the masses demonstrate and burn houses, the middle class own those buildings. Their insurance companies are the ones that insure those companies. They pay premiums back. So it is like South Africa has deliberated now, combining the capitalist plus the masses combining to change. In Kenya, if you ask who rules Kenya, Kenya is ruled by political capitalists. That's why Kenya is now a private limited company. Kenya is run as a private limited company. Actually, you can call it WSR Limited. WSR Limited has created a company whereby if you hear the people like Nakhumicha telling you want to remove them from power, those are tentacles or appendages of WSR Limited. So if you see, for example, ministers, they cannot make any decision anyway. PSS, they can't make a decision. There's a shareholder. They have said they are shareholders, national shareholders. Now, Raila Odinga, who was trying to oppose the shareholders, have joined the shareholders. So Raila Odinga has been given ordinary shares. There's preferential shares and ordinary shares. So having been given the ordinary shares, he is inside the house. It's a house of glass. There is no Luo who can throw a stone, because you cannot throw a stone. Raila is there. In Luo, we say Thul Odonjeko, meaning that the snake has entered inside a guard. When a snake is inside a guard, you can't do anything, isn't it? Because the guard has milk. If you break the guard, you lose the milk. So that's the situation at the moment. So these shareholders which are brought in together, they have captured the state. So our manifesto moving forward is, how do we take Kenya back to Kenyans? Because it's been captured. And that's why we talk about Hewa Mpya, which is the new revolution. Fresh air needs to come to Kenya. Kenya is ready for change. Remember, the only person who wants to change in this world is a baby in diapers. So Kenyans' diapers is too wet. It is too wet that they feel uncomfortable. I'm sure that's you feel. So this new change will be, take Kenya back to Kenyans, and that's why I took a petition to the Commission for Administration of Justice to investigate the state capture by powerful individuals, private companies, all these people who control the state that cannot be investigated. Look at cases, NYS, there's no conclusion. And Kenya is moving too fast. Like today, the headlines talk about how money is being misspent. Yesterday, it was about corruption with this. Tomorrow, you hear that doctors strike. And they're moving too fast that you can't even catch up. In fact, Kenyans have forgotten what was the first problem created by Kenya Kwanza. I've counted them. There's 1,226 problems created by Kenya Kwanza. So we are making 1,226 wrong moves now. Maybe the 1,500th move will take us to destruction. But before that, Kenyans are ready. I'm telling you, I was walking in Kisumu, I was in Kwale, I was in Malindi. They're telling me that if someone can come with a vision, purposeful leadership, Kenyans will buy it. And that person, we don't know that person, but I think maybe you can be seeing that person sitting next to you here talking to you, because I've seen this very clearly. In fact, that's why the mantle about road law is coming to me. I didn't look for it, they look for me. And I believe that, Eric, if we do not stop the last bottle, when you're going to the bar, there's a bottle you need to take last. If you don't take, you can't drive home. and that bottle, we are about to take it.
So there are a number of questions, and I think one of the things that often smacks us in the face is that we ask the how. And if you look at, we can be aspirational and talk about future leadership, but currently there are things that are going on, and we spoke about this yesterday, and that signifies the rot that's happening in the country at the moment. Unfortunately, there seems to be so many things that are going wrong at the same time, or so many unpalatable things that should not happen when you have an authentic government in place. Whether they were inherited issues or whether they are novel issues, they should not be happening in a country worth its might, like Kenya, which you've, alluded to. So the question is, how then in this present state do we fix some of these things? Look at the things that we see in the paper. Who's spending what on what? Should we be having those conversations when doctors are on strike and they say there's no money to pay doctors, there's no money to send interns to the needed facilities where they should be, but then we see in the same headlines that money is being spent on chairs or whatever? Should we be having a conversation whereby we've come to the end of the week and children have gone home and they said they were going to send money to schools that has still not been received by schools? Those are the issues that we're talking about. I believe that in as much as Kenyans are looking for a leader who will take them in the right direction, Kenyans are looking for these things to be done now.
Yeah.
So the question is the how do we get some of these things actually done?
Yeah, so first of all, I'm sure that you've heard about the young members of parliament. They call themselves Team Ground, saying that they want now to impeach Nakhumicha, isn't it? I was so disappointed because that is not the issue. You see, Kenya needs a software upgrade and software update. The fact that someone is young by age does not mean they present the 21st century thinking. Actually, that is Stone Age thinking, because I've told you, the bigger problem is systemic. The problem is systemic. And you cannot solve a systemic problem by just an action. So the issues you are raising is not like one issue is isolated. It's a systemic issue. Education sector is in shambles. Remember, you kill an education sector and you kill a health sector, you kill a nation. Because what else is important? Economic development is measured in terms of the goodness that people receive in terms of healthcare, education, and then cost of living. Food on the table, clothes, and the rest. If you drive along Embakasi, these islands, do you know what is sold most? Food and clothes. You see tomatoes, you see someone selling viazi, someone selling banana, someone selling clothes. In fact, as you drive, you see many people selling stalls of clothes, which means that in as much as I think we are going towards middle class economy, some people are still just concerned about the basic needs, food and clothing. Only when you go to Lavington, you see someone has some flower garden. That's now luxuries. But if you go toward this side, it's either clothes being hanged. In fact, when you drive along the bypass there, the outer ring road, you see literally people spreading their clothes outside. You see more the clothes people putting outside to get some fresh air. It tells you where we are, and we need a leader who can see this thing and take them somewhere. Let me tell you what. When I see these people trying to remove Nakhumicha is just somebody who has been brought with the tentacles of the private, what they call the private enterprise. I call it WSR, private enterprise. So if you remove her, they will bring another person and put there. You'll spend 5 to 1 year trying to remove her. Then after she goes away, nothing changes because the system hasn't changed. Eric, if you have a laptop and you realize that Excel is not functioning, you might spend time trying to rectify Excel, but maybe the Microsoft Windows that is the issue. So if you cannot uninstall the Microsoft Windows and install a new one and move on, you can waste time with Excel. So for me, Nakhumicha issue is an Excel sheet.
Okay.
The healthcare doctors is an Excel sheet. What we need to talk about is how do we remove this state which has been captured? And let me tell you how.
But then...
yes, I'll just say how.
You're saying that it's a WSR enterprise. That suggests that the beneficial owner is WSR. Are you sure?
Yeah,
WSR enterprise.
That's for sure, because what I'm telling you, Eric,
the WSR and Nakhumicha are not in the same boat.
Yeah, let me give you a comparison. Now, doctors on the street, Kenyatta National Hospital, people are sleeping with no hope. Can you imagine, Eric? You know, this is not something to joke about. You are sleeping in a hospital bed. You know there is no doctor. You are watching news. Doctors are on the street. You even have no hope of seeing a Panadol. Do you know how that looks like? While someone saying the priority is to build a house for you. You are in a hospital bed. You need a bed. Do you need a doctor? Do you need medicine, or you need a house? So whatever gives the president income, he focuses on. We are going to Haiti, isn't it? There is an income. It's a commercial presidency. When he gets money, anything. So doctors have to demonstrate to Ruto, if you pay us, how much money will you make?
Professor Fred Ogola, who is the chairman of Operation Linda Jamii, his word luo, who says, Thuol odonjeko.
Yes.
Nyoka ameingia kwa kibuyu.
Yes.
Na iko na maziwa.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thuol left the streets, demonstration, mass action, and entered inside the guard. So everyone who was on the street with him has watched the stick enter inside the guard, and the guard is in a glass house. So they remain outside. What do? That's the dilemma we have now.
Okay.
It has extended the shareholding within the establishment. Now, let me just tell you the following things. If you want to know the sense it makes, yesterday's paper, Nation, it was the Daily Nation, stated how people are sharing career jobs, isn't it? That was yesterday. Today, how money is being misspent, isn't it? The career jobs are shared by the people who call themselves the shareholders, isn't it? So the shareholding was said by Gachagua, I'm not the one who said it. So it's a private enterprise. And he said the owner. And he said his work is only to look for who comes in and who does not come in. So it's not my own creation. This is a reality. And they have not come back to decant it. The president will ask one day, and he said that let them ask Gachagua. Those are the statements. So this is not my own making. I'm a professor, my brother. We believe that in God we trust, the rest bring evidence. So if you don't have evidence, you stay away. And I'm not here to say anything. So what I'm trying to say...
So now to the point...
Yeah.
Which you're saying that we need to have fundamental changes in our system.
Yes.
Because if we don't do that, then we are headed in the very wrong direction.
Yeah.
A catastrophic end.
Yes.
What is this fundamental change in the system that we need to?
The fundamental change, I said, take Kenya back to Kenyans. Because Kenya belongs to Kenyans. Everybody feels left out. You are in the media. Yesterday was Mizia Masli. You are a youth. You look at if you look at the headline for Standard List yesterday, they showed the Central Committee for ODM meeting. The youngest person was John Badi, if not Junet. I don't know who is older than the other, isn't it? And they're talking about succession, isn't it? There was a woman in the periphery, isn't it? Only one woman. Yet ODM says they want to change this country and bring women emancipation, isn't it? If you cannot rule your party well and make the party even become inclusive of other people, how can you set up an inclusive government? Go to UDA, you'll see the same picture, isn't it? So taking Kenya back to Kenyans is by bringing the people who are left out into government, because at the moment it's more of some communities that think they're in control, but not communities, by the way. Eric, mark my words. Kenyans live with each other harmoniously, irrespective of tribes. It's only when your politician says that you are so and so, I want my vote or I want this, then we start looking different. But actually, Kenyans live harmoniously. Where I live, in the community I live, there are more Kikuyus than Luos. And we live so harmoniously. So we took that aside. Now, what do we want to do? Where are we captured? If you look at Article 1 of the Constitution, they say the sovereign power belongs to the people. But once you donate your power, you cannot call it back directly. You have to call it back through a second constituency, which is Parliament. Can Parliament recall President now? They can't. In fact, the Parliament itself needs to be recalled by people, and there's no mechanism to call Parliament in entirety. So the best thing to do is that basic structure of the Constitution is being interfered with, nothing can do. There are a lot of illegalities going on. So Linda Jamii is already having a bill which is ready. Last time I tried to amend the bill, they refused to put up IBC until today. Can you imagine there's no IBC called Independent Boundaries and Electoral Commission? Independent. Yet what Raila says and Ruto says is what determines how independent are they. We have no independent. Anything that begins independent, there's no independence. Anyone who has democracy in their statement, there's no democracy. For example, ODM, Orange Democratic Movement, isn't it? UDA is United Democratic what? Alliance. How democratic are they? None. How independent are institutions? Zero. So all our institutions in the petition says, you go to IPOA, we had the post-election violence mandamano. What did they do? They report, we don't know, isn't it? We have the DCI capturing, for example, if you go to our security apparatus being controlled by one community, a systemic risk, the Somali people, isn't it? Look at the DCI, go to ODPP, look at all that structure. It is controlled by one community. There's a risk there, right? You go to institutions, employment, everything. I'm not saying community. These are people, politicians who are trying to use those communities for their self-gain. So we need to change those structures. And first of all, where do we start? We don't start by... I was so disappointed by my brother Babu Owino when he said he wanted to impeach Nakhumicha, because that is just removing a small log or just a small thing. We have to start from where the problem is. If you have not done a proper diagnostic, your prescription is useless.
So how? So
we've done the diagnosis and realized that Article 1 of the Constitution needs to be changed. And the beauty about this article is that it is protected by the Constitution 255, isn't it? That you don't have to go to Parliament. Once you have collected your signatures, and we want to put pressure at the constituted IBC. We collect the signatures and wrote a clause on how to recall the president and deputy president directly by the people through a referendum without having to do impeachment through parliament, because the parliament has been bought using the shareholders' money. The only one standing is judiciary, who at least the only person who knows what to do in this whole government is only judiciary. Whether they are doing it or not, a story for another day. There's time they do it right, sometimes they don't do it right. But nevertheless, they're the only people who know what they're doing. This parliament need to be recalled again directly by the people. And I'm sure that the amendment bill is ready on Wednesday. I'm saying this, I don't care whether someone will come to my house and arrest me, I don't care. Even if they arrest me, it's in the system. Somebody else will present.
So you want to amend the Constitution, Article 1 of the Constitution?
Yes, asking that people can recall the president.
By inserting a clause?
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Saying what? So Article 1 talks about all sovereign power belongs to the people of Kenya.
Yeah.
This power shall be exercised directly.
Or indirectly.
Or indirectly.
Yes.
And through institutions established through this Constitution.
Yes.
And can only be exercised in accordance with this Constitution.
Yes.
And then we say in the areas where we delegate the power to these institutions through an election. Are you saying that the way the Constitution is right now, there is no way for Kenyans to exercise that power directly?
Yes, you cannot recall the president directly. And you cannot recall the parliament, the 13th parliament, you cannot recall them directly, which means that Constitution had a problem. Because, Eric, if you have powers to lend me your coat, isn't it? You should have powers to call back your coat from me. If you have powers to give me your car, if you don't have powers to call back your car when you want it, then actually you don't have ownership. So this sovereign power was false in giving only. They wanted just to be given. They never looked for how the owner can get it back. So Kenyans actually do not have sovereign power, according to me, in my analysis. So the only day we can have sovereign power is when we can recall it back. So once we amend this, we want to take the president, William Ruto, and deputy president to go back to the streets and try to defend if they cannot recall back. Once we call them back, we put up a new government, a new parliament, and give Kenya back to Kenyans. And I can tell you, I'm sure that the problem we have in Kenya is that everybody becomes a doubting Thomas. And when they see you doubting me, they are very happy. I'm sure you're going to doubt me, it can happen. Once you say, people don't even believe Fred Ogola, but I'm saying the right thing. So Kenyans are tired. I told you that the baby has wet diapers. They want to be changed. And everywhere I go, they want to change. If I would come back, Kenyans will come for me. And the middle class who feel comfortable, they are a fake middle class. Kenya, we have fake middle class. Because if you're a real middle class, you should not just be concerned about nyama choma, picnics and the rest. You should be concerned about something that champions you. And I'm sorry to use these words. Every banker, I've actually had a meeting with the bankers in Fairview. I won't tell you which banks, but around 10 CEOs, a few guys in the insurance industry and fund managers. They told me that if someone can come with a change that they really want, they'll be behind that person. And so far, that person looks to be Fred Ogola. We need to have middle class come here, because where will I get the resources? They should come from you. Because if you want a solution, you cannot invest your money in a solution, then you don't need it. And that's why I call it a fake middle class. So there might be no need of money. If I go to Kisumu, they told me, bring all those things and spread them in the Tom Mboya Street, spread them in Oginga. We'll sign all of them. And then with more than 2 million signatures, we'll go to referendum. I'm telling you, they'll recall this group back. Both parliament, because they have been left out. Everybody is left out.
So are you seeing that Kenyans right now have gotten to the point whereby they've been pushed to the wall and then would be ready for a quasi-revolution?
Yes. Actually, if there's... Actually, the one of Senegal happened faster just because of the fact that they are going to election. If you turn this to 2027 now, you'll be shocked how many Kenyans will ship out. I have so many friends of mine inside this government who are there to pay their bills between now and 2026 thereabout, and they'll ship out and go to a new formation. I know them. The only thing remains is that who will put his skin on the ground for their people. I've been telling people, like today, my sisters came to me. They came all the way from Mombasa, all the way. I didn't know they were coming. I was surprised in the morning. They told me, Professor, we have come to tell you, go slow. We have heard that your life is in danger. Leave this thing. Go back to classroom. And I told them, I died a long time ago. I'm only waiting for my death certificate so that I can enter my grave. Because, Eric, I'm saying this in almost in near tears, my brother. I have 5 undergraduate degrees. I have 2 master degrees. I have a PhD. I have 16 World Bank certification. I'm sitting here discussing about Aisha Jumwa, isn't it? And I can't serve in my country. You know what it means to educate somebody to that level. Then they are doing nothing. I'm only on talk shows. I'm on the street, running up and down, trying to tell people the right thing. It's all about making. The president called Strathmore to fire me and replace me with his son-in-law. Then you're talking about Kenya not being a private enterprise. It is, my brother. I will live here and have my head shot on the street now, and I'll be okay. Let me die fighting for my country than fighting for nothing. So it's just that somebody has to put their skin in the game. How many people die before that, we don't know. But what we know is this change must take place. Because for me, I'm not going to be here, for example, I've heard Jim Wanjigi talking here, he want to change. Jim Wanjigi is just unhappy because SRG deal was his. The one who came with the SGR deal. He never got the money. These are shareholders. But I see many people coming and say, oh, this is the change. Let's evaluate. You know, now, Babu Owino says he want to impeach Nakhumicha, isn't it? After impeaching her, which might take 6 months or 8, isn't it? What will happen? They are going to put another person there. What have you changed? You have just wasted time. But Babu Owino himself, he took advantage of his students when he was just in Nairobi. How did he come to become an MP? He came to University of Nairobi, became an MP, isn't it? Ride on the thing or ODM, isn't
let's
it?
be
so
fair,
you
Prof.
cannot you cannot change a system.
There was some following of his own, no?
Yeah, you can't change a system with the people who have created the problem.
Prof, somebody being a student leader and then being elected in a different constituency altogether, you cannot say that you have used one into the other. I mean, there's no connection, and let's not even go there, Prof.
Anyway,
let's come back to your issue.
Respectfully, yes.
You are saying that the solution, the only solution that you see, is in amending the constitution.
No, that's a way. The solution is give back Kenya to Kenyans. What do I mean by that?
Right.
We need people who love Kenya, not their stomachs. And at the moment, we are getting people in government who need the government.
So when you give these people back their power, when was it taken? And what guarantees do we have that the people will exercise their power correctly this time?
But I've told you, when we get people who come into government because the government needs them, not that they need the government. At the moment, everybody in government needs the government. The government do not need them.
But who puts them there in that government?
Well, I mean, it's the same system that put them on. And that's the system we want to change. It's a systemic problem, I told you.
So point from the picture, okay? So let's say that through this constitutional amendment, we are able to recall directly. We wake up, we are tired with the president, we recall a president. We wake up, we are tired with members of parliament. We can disband the entire National Assembly plus Senate plus county assemblies, and we disband. And then we don't have government. We are the ones. So what happens next? Paint for me that picture. Are we saying that we are not going to elect another crop of people? That we are now going to run our own chieftains here? What's this picture?
Of course, you have to create a government. After recalling a government, you elect a government.
Okay.
Do you know why that's important? If William Ruto was sitting in State House, knowing that any day a Kenyan can go to the street, collect signatures, and remove him from office, he will rule very differently from now. But he knows I'm here until 2027, isn't it? And probably beyond. That's why he is going to the street and shouting at people, where how to end up in going. How do you have a president who knows even who will go to heaven? You know, because he's become untouchable. He's become invulnerable.
So show me then, Prof. You recall a president halfway through their term.
Yeah.
How does that help?
But you see, Eric.
Remember,
Eric, you have to know what power is.
This is a president who's been elected by a majority in less than 5 years ago.
Yeah.
This person was elected by a majority. Okay?
Yeah.
So let's say that majority is also feeling disillusioned with the leadership. Recall. How does that help?
Let me tell you one thing, Eric. Do you know what power is? To have power is important, especially if you don't use it. So long as the citizens have that power, that's enough. Do you know, Eric, if your power is to insult me, if you insult me, you lose it. This power is there, potential. Now, Kenyans are looking around. Raila told them, I'll take you to State House and take over. It's impossible, according to the current constitution. You understand? Should we had that provision, when Raila said, bring down the cost of living, they could have listened to him. But they cannot listen to him because there is no option. Once you have an option to exercise a certain power, it gives you way forward. So the fact that anybody will be coming to State House knowing that you can go, let's go to UK because you think I'm being idealistic, isn't it? Since Tony Blair left, how many prime ministers have we had in UK?
Quite a number.
Who can count?
Because there's a mechanism to leave. Gordon Brown came, he could not execute. May went, you come and go. If you can't do your work, you go. Here, you come and start insulting people. Eric, leadership is about followership. 53 million Kenyans are following William Ruto, isn't it? Does he know where he's taking us? He doesn't. Do you know why the president is better? I cannot even blame him. He's better because he has no clue where to take us. Eric, if you wake up now and we follow you and know where you're taking us, you get us agitated. So me, what I'm trying to tell you, that power that you can recall a government puts the government to task. In the US, there's so-called midterm elections. We don't have anything like that here. Once somebody has come, tell me an MP has ever been impeached. So everybody comes knowing, now I'll just eat for 5 years. It's not be guaranteed. I'm a husband to my wife.
I'm just seeking the guarantee, Prof. Because the Constitution says that we have the sovereign power as a people.
Yeah.
Okay? We can exercise it directly or indirectly. Okay? So we can even go into a whole academic argument on whether by exercising powers directly, by electing leaders, we have then ceded the power. Because that seems to be what you're suggesting. That when we participated in the election on the 7th of August in 2022, we ceded our authority to the elected leaders, and now we don't have it anymore.
We don't have.
And the only way to get it back is if we have a clause in the Constitution that says we can collect 1 million signatures or 2 or 10 or whatever your proposal is, and then we go into a referendum that says we want to get back our power from the National Assembly or so on and so forth. What's the guarantee that process is going to bring sanity and bring power back to the people?
One thing is that it gives you, it tells everybody that elections are not over. You know why even we are doing what we are doing with Raila Odinga and all these things? It looks like election after 5 years, the guy will be there for 5 years. The fact that you know that you're not going to be there before 5 years and there is a clause to recall you back, that's why even in your contract, there's an exit clause, isn't it? Even if you have a 50-year contract, there's an exit clause. In your marriage, there's no exit clause, but also it's not guaranteed. Can you imagine that I have to wake up every day and perform well and ensure my wife still takes me as a husband? She knows that she has powers, even if the marriage is a covenant which she cannot exit. You understand? But here we have a system whereby once I come in, I can't come out. But remember, there's something which has to add to this. The electoral system in Kenya also shows that professionals are not really supposed to come in. They said politics is dirty. Who came up with that narrative is a politician. Politics is dirty, so don't come in. So let us do the dirty work. But let me tell you what, the fact that you're not interested in politics doesn't mean politics is not interested in you. So we are trying to bring up a team of technocrats because now we have tumbocrats running the country, because I told you, they don't love the country, they love their stomach. But we want to bring technocrats because remember, we had technocrats in Kibaki's government, it performed much better. Uhuru's government was quasi-technocrat, but mostly there were almost, let's say, 65% technocrats. The rest were politicians. Now, 100%.
In the end, all of them were.
100%, but of course, Professor Njuguna Ndung'u is a unique guy, but I've told you, if you are a CS who is qualified like Professor Njuguna Ndung'u, the economic policy is coming from that place, he is not in charge. It is being told to him. And then we are buying a lot of narratives which are fake, like the US is controlling our economy, IMF, World Bank. I'm telling you that is not the story. It's been crafted by people wanting to believe them. US has their national interest, isn't it? They're only looking for how their national interest can align with the Kenyan interest. But if we have a head of state who is more private interest, then a private individual with the whole state like the US, you'll actually play their role. Okay. So if we have a national interest, we can align. So let me tell you what, Eric. There are leaders who want to lead, but they are afraid to come because the system does not even allow them. So
how do we get them?
How do we get out of this system? And I think that's where we keep coming back to, because the question from the beginning has been how. Because there's no lack of knowledge in terms of what needs to be done. I refuse. It's been said over and over and over again. It would make sense. We have examples replete the world over. But in a place where you have admitted that there's a systemic issue, how do you get rid of the system to then bring in this new leadership, which is essentially going to deliver this baby? How? I
talked about that. You see, everything begins with a political party. There is no political party in Kenya. What we have in Kenya is what we call fraternities and sororities. What are those words? They're just a fraternity. You see now, Luhya coming together. I want somebody from Luhya. I want somebody from... Those are not political parties. Political party must be owned by the people. In NC, for example, Ramaphosa is there, but if the people do not want him, he won't be there. You see what happened to Zuma? If you go to Democrats in the US, isn't it? Obama never owned Democrats. If you go Republican, Trump never owns it. But here we have where a political party leader who is a presidential candidate is the signatory for even certificates for an MCA. That is not a political system. That's not a political party. So we will have a political party. I'm telling you, in my political party, which I have like 2-3 CEOs who are there. There's a mechanism on how a young person can come in. I won't mention the name because you know that you know what these guys can do. The political party is in some stage somewhere. We have how a youth can become a youth leader. Do you know that Oburu Dinga was a youth leader for ODM? I've told you the picture here where we have the succession. So I'm trying to tell you, we have to bring a political party where professionals know how to get a ticket. Eric, do you know any formula to get a UDA ticket that you can tell me you add 1 + 4 + 8 and get? ODM, do you know?
You see.
So we will start. Prof, that is another thing of bringing the good.
So, in your opinion, the existing political parties
are not
flawed structurally.
Flawed, totally.
Okay. So, what is the solution? Start a party, convince us to join the party.
That's another way, but also change the party system. It's done from the ORPP, reserve political parties. What is a party? If you don't meet, they talk about bring me a region, somebody from Western, those will not work, isn't it? You cannot have a political party where someone who controls the bank account. Look at what happened during the NASA thing.
It's okay. So if you came up with a political party today, Prof, is there anything in law that bars you from right now creating a political party, mobilizing leaders, and having that political party run professionally and most importantly, democratically?
Nothing.
There's nothing.
That I'm doing.
There's nothing wrong right now.
Nothing.
So it's not about the structure of the laws and everything. That's a problem.
The law is about changing the issue of sovereign power because it's a false sovereign power. It's a false one, according to me. What you give that you can't take back, you don't have. Like, for example, let's talk about business here. Do you know what's an asset? In a balance sheet, an asset, you have access and control and use, isn't it? In our sovereign powers, we have no access and control because the state will use the policemen when they want, isn't it? They use the security apparatus when they want. You have no control to call it back. You only give and disappears. Then they tell you there's called deep state and systems which don't exist. They just exist in people's imagination. I want to champion that kind of political party, and I'm doing it already. And I want to ensure that there's a party which does not belong to individual. I've told you, in ANC is a political party. DA is a political party in South Africa, isn't it? And they stand for something. Political parties are supposed to champion something for socio-economic benefit of the people. You understand? ODM is the largest political party in Kenya, isn't it? ODM predominantly captures Luo Nyanza, isn't it? How come the Luo nation is the poorest ever? They have never benefited from that dominance of ODM. You understand? So if there's a political party that cannot bring development to its people, it's actually a cause of lack of development. And there's a book I'll give you here called Solomonic Economics. I think you have this book, Eric. I say that poverty cannot coexist with wisdom. And what we are lacking is that professional leadership. Because look, Luo Nyanza has water, isn't it? We are River Lake Nile, so we never just go away from river, isn't it? We have vast land, and we have very, very many people are employed, so we have labor, isn't it? To produce food, you need only three, isn't it? You need land, you need water, and you need labor. What are we lacking? Software. And the software is not ODM. Software is not the leaders out there. We need to have a new software. That's why as Ward Luo, I want to champion economic liberation for the Luo nation, but for the whole country as well, because this is not a task for Luo. Luo actually means the whole world, if you just go and look at the origin of the word Luo. So it's not about a community. It's not about a kingpin. In fact, there's no need for Luos to have kingpin. Kingpinship is the main reason for failure in Kenya, because once you are there, you become a broker, not a kingpin, you become a broker. Those have been brokers. We don't need them. We don't need a kingpin at all. In fact, my leadership is not about kingpinship. My leadership is about looking for what can actually transform socially, socio-economic situation of the people, and not just Kenya, but also the rest of Africa. That's why the Solomonic economics addresses the developing nations. That's why I gave this speech to university in South Africa when I was there. I should go and talk about it in Yale University. I should talk about it in Boston University. I should go and talk about it in Cambridge University. I'm waiting for invitation confirmation to be confirmed. So what I'm talking about, Eric, here, there is a vision. And leaders we have are leaders with a purpose. Now, when you talk about succession planning, what do you give back? Succession does not mean someone takes the position. Succession means someone takes an idea that he takes forward. You know, succession, people think about leadership. For example, you have a vision. Tom Mboya had a vision for this country. Kenyatta had a vision for this country. You see people like Kibaki had a vision, Vision 2030. It's now dead. That's what I'm telling you. We have killed Vision 2030 and replaced with bottom-up economic model. Where are we going with the bottom-up economic model, which is not working? So I'm talking about succession, meaning that you succeed on an ideology you want to take forward, not that you are an empire, you are a king or something. So as far as I'm concerned, and Eric, I can tell you, I don't sit in studios. I'm on the ground. Last week I was in Kisumu. I was in Malindi the other day. I was in Taita Taveta. You are talking to people. These people want this change. And I can tell you, we owe it to them. Me and you, we owe it to them. So long as we find a way to know that if you come to State House, you can go home if you don't deliver. UK has been helped by that. In Japan, they resign. Vietnam, the Prime Minister resigned when he made a mistake. For us here, after that, they're shouting at us and insulting us. How do you insult us directly? Look at how the establishment is changing now. Like, remember, Gachagua is the one who came with the issue of shareholder. Now his shares have been taken away. Now Raila Odinga is inside the guard. The shares have gone down. Mama Ngina has become more powerful that now Gachagua can call Mama Ngina and Mama Ngina will not pick. Before, she could pick immediately. Gachagua. So you see, all these establishments are changing. It's about the shareholding structure. So what I'm trying to tell you, Eric, we must give Kenya back to Kenyans.
Okay.
And bring in those who are left out from socio-economic participation, whether they are women, youth, or any other person doing business somewhere. Even the issue of informal economies, all these things. We have to bring them to participate. And don't just allow me to give important statistics about health here. I've been telling doctors, they are full.
We're winding up.
Yeah, so I'm telling doctors what is important is that healthcare is the next biggest job creation opportunities. Canada, they do 80% of employment. Let us look for how economically we can bring our message to the Kenyans rather than just going to the city. Because if using the old model tool which has been used over the years, it won't just fly.
Ward Luo, thank you. All the best.
Thank you.
Hey. Professor Fred Ogola is the chairman of Operation Linda Jamii. He's been our guest and saying, people, we just need to think different and seek the solutions and bring Kenya back to Kenyans. It's with some Martian somewhere called Company Flani and Flani. Thank you very much for tuning into Kenya's biggest conversation today.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.